Our next presenter is an amazing individual. He actually is the world champion public speaker for the year 2000, competing against 35,000 individuals over a 9-month period. You're going to enjoy this. Ed Tate's success in our business spans over 2 decades. While an executive in the computer industry, Ed sold more than $500 million in products and co-created 2 businesses that produce more than $1.25 billion in revenues. Ed is a consummate storyteller. He finds a life lesson in every story. He's going to give up to 5 tips to supercharge your business presentations. Get ready for a story that's guaranteed to have you on your feet by the end of the presentation. Please join me in giving a warm MDRT welcome to Ed Tate.
There you go, Mr. Tate. Next time, drive a little slower. Speaking of slow, have you ever noticed how long it takes a police officer to write you a ticket? Completely eliminating all that time that you've made up. I said to myself, it's going to be one of those days. But I did the math. There was still enough time for me to make my noon flight to Phoenix, Arizona. All I had to do now was to park my car, walk through security, and off to the gate. And as luck would have it, I found the parking spot right away. But when I got to security, there were lines for as far as my eyes could see. It was the mid-1990s. The Denver International Airport had just opened up. The airline and the airport had decided it would be a good idea to actually enforce the 2-bag limit. I did the math. There was no way I was going to make my flight. I said to myself, it's going to be one of those days. I noticed on the departure board, there was a 2 o'clock flight leaving for Phoenix. I said to myself, I'm a frequent flyer, a premier executive, 1K. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars with this airlines. They had better figure out a way to get me on that flight, or I was going to give them a piece of my mind. I walked over to customer service. In line ahead of me, there was a couple, a tall young man and his girlfriend. And the conversation between the tall young man and the customer service agent went something like this. What do you mean there's not enough room for us on the 2 o'clock flight to Phoenix? It's because of your airline we missed our connection in the first place. I'm a frequent flyer, a premier executive, 1K. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on these airlines. You had better figure out a way to get us on that flight. She responded, sir, I'm so sorry. The next flight that we can get you on is at 6 o'clock. Do the math, lady. The wedding is at 5. Then he committed what I called the unpardonable sin. He called her the B word. Guys, that's not funny. And the silence was deafening. And then he storms off. And I was next. It's going to be one of those days. All of a sudden it occurred to me that the customer service agent, she was just trying to do the best that she could. I was no better than her. I could see that she was shaken. I said, ma'am, take your time. I'm in no hurry. Not anymore. She said, sir, what can I do for you? I couldn't help overhear the previous conversation. If you could put me on any flight to Phoenix today, that would be fine. And her fingers, they danced across the keyboard. And she presented me with the final seat on the 2 o'clock flight to Phoenix. Hallelujah, hallelujah. Go, Eddie, it's your birthday. I really didn't do the celebration dance. That was my inside voice. I thanked her enthusiastically, and I said, don't let it be one of those days. I had some time to kill, so I decided to go to the food court and get some lunch. And who is in line ahead of me? The tall, angry young man and his girlfriend. And I remember thinking to myself, you know, someone ought to say something to that guy. Someone ought to give that guy a piece of their mind. Somebody ought to do that. And I remember hearing this voice, and it said, Ed, it's not you. Then I heard this other voice, and it said, Ed, if not you, then who? If not here, then where? If not now, then when? Have you noticed I spend way too much time talking to myself? I decided to approach the angry young man. By the way, did I mention that he was tall? About 6'5", 200 pounds. Ladies and gentlemen, don't let these flat skirts fool you. I am not a big man. I said, sir, excuse me. If it's true what you say, if you are indeed a frequent flyer, there are two things that you know. The first thing that you know, the question is not if, the question is when you'll miss your next flight. The second thing that you know, the customer service agent over there, she was trying to help you. She had nothing to do with you missing your connection. The next time this happens, and it will happen again, I want you to be nice. Then all of a sudden, pow! His girlfriend hit him in the arm and said, yeah, be nice. Oh, you thought I got hit. He walked away in stunned silence. Finally, I made it to the gate, and I noticed something unusual. As a frequent flyer, typically a gate is operated by uniformed personnel. But on this particular occasion, in addition to uniformed personnel, there was a man in a suit. As a frequent flyer, this is not a good sign. This means trouble. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that customer service agent, she wasn't supposed to give me that final seat. I'm keeping this ticket. I hand my ticket to the gate agent. The gate agent whispers to the suit, this is the guy. I'm saying to myself, oh my God, they're going to take my ticket. I'm keeping this ticket. The man in the suit reaches across the counter. He says, Mr. Tate, I want to thank you for what you have done. As I'm reaching up to shake his hand, I'm thinking to myself, he's just trying to soften me up so he can take my ticket. I'm keeping this ticket. Well, I asked him, well, what did I do? He said, earlier today, one of our customer service agents, they had an altercation with an angry passenger. One of our supervisors happened to be behind the counter at that moment, and she noticed how graciously you treated one of her own. She happened to take her lunch break at the exact moment when you confronted the angry passenger. Mr. Tate, our number one priority is to make sure that our passengers reach their destinations safely every day of the year. We do that every single day of the year. And occasionally, we get them there on time. That's not what he really said. I just made that last part up. But when things go wrong, people are quick to jump down our throat. And seldom, if ever, does anyone stand by us. And Mr. Tate, I just want to thank you for what you have done. Sir, may I please have your ticket? Man, I knew it! He was going to take my ticket. It's going to be. But the gate agent, his fingers, they danced across the keyboard, and he presented me with a first-class ticket on the 2 o'clock flight to Phoenix. Thank you. And the lesson is this. Every now and then, we must listen to those voices. The voices inside of our head and the voices inside of our heart. These are the voices of our conscience. They are the voices that ask, what is the right thing to do? They are the voices that cry out, if not you, then who? And every now and then, when we listen to those voices, it was like I was trying to tell you from the very beginning, I knew it was going to be. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Tate, and as has been mentioned before, I won the World Championship of Public Speaking with that particular speech. How many of you are familiar with Toastmasters International? Just quick show of hands. Thank you. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Toastmasters, they're a global organization, over a quarter of a million members in over 100 different countries. Their primary purpose is to help people improve their confidence through two mediums. Number one, public speaking. The second is in leadership development. And then, as mentioned before, 9-month competition, 6 different rounds, and 35,000 contestants. And in the year 2000, I won that competition. I encourage each and every one of you, if you want to develop your confidence, to join this organization. Let me ask you a couple questions about the story. Number one, did that story make you think? Okay, this is the audience participation part. Did that make you think? Yes. Thank you. Could you relate to the story? Yes. Did it make you laugh? Yes. Were there some important messages there? And was it memorable? Yes. My purpose in being here today is to share with you tips, tools, and techniques to make your business presentations memorable. So let's get on with it. Here's strategy number one. I want you to replace statistics with success stories about your services. So replace statistics or data with success stories about your services. Some of the most memorable moments that have been on this stage since Monday have been the stories that you've heard. Am I right? There have been a couple of data points that you might remember, but what we remember the most are the stories that we heard. And here's the reason why. Put down your pens. I want you to put your hands up like this. Everyone? Okay, and I want you to repeat after me. I want you to say, stories are sticky. Everyone go? Stories are sticky. Okay, just this side over here, stories are sticky. Okay, everyone? Stories are sticky. Tell your neighbors, stories are sticky. Okay, got it? So strategy number one, replace statistics and data with a success story about your services. Number two, if you're going to open up with a presentation, there are 3 elements to an opening, and I want you to come out punching. There are 3 elements. How many? 3. The first is called break preoccupation. Repeat it with me, please. It's called break preoccupation. Everyone, I want you to do this. I want you to go break preoccupation. Everyone go break preoccupation. Here we go. Break preoccupation. Show one of your friends. Break preoccupations. There are 3 elements to an opening. The first is called break preoccupation. The second is called frame the message. Everyone go. Frame the message. Frame one of your neighbors. Frame the message. Frame another neighbor. Frame the message. There are 3 elements to an opening. The first is called break preoccupation. The second is called frame the message. The third is called jump into the content. Everyone scoot in your chairs, go. Jump into the content. Here we go. Jump into the content. Now, what does this mean? Break preoccupation. It is the duty, the responsibility of a presenter, if you're talking to an audience of 1 or an audience, in this case, of 5,000, is to break the preoccupation of your audience members or whoever you're talking to and grab their attention and keep it. And you do that through creativity. If you'll notice something, I didn't come out here and say, hey, my name's Tate, I'm happy to be here. I came out here and I just told you a story. Okay? So break preoccupation. Number 2, frame the message. In 1 sentence or less, tell people what you're going to talk about. I'm going to share with you some strategies that will breathe life into your business presentations. 1 sentence or less. That's what I mean by framing the message. Number 3, jump into the content. Just jump into the content. If you're going to tell a story, there are what I call 4 H's of storytelling. 4 H's of storytelling. Put down your pens, put down your pieces of paper. The people in the back, put down your BlackBerries. Everyone follow along with me. Put your hands on your head, okay? So this is your head. This is your head, and it makes you think. Okay, so everyone follow along with me. This is your head, and it makes you think. This is your, and it connects. What does your heart do? It connects. Let's take this from the top. This is your head that makes you think. This is your heart, and it connects. This is, put your hands on your stomach. For our purposes, this is humor. What is this? What is this? Humor. Tell your neighbor, what is it? Humor. Give me a belly laugh. Okay? And humor makes you. So let's take this from the top. This is your. It makes you. This is your. And it. This is humor. No, it's not your belly. It's humor. And it makes you laugh. Okay? The last part of it is called heavy hitting. Repeat it after me. Heavy hitting. Everyone, I want you to clap your hands and do like this. I want you to go heavy hitting. Here we go. Heavy hitting. One more time, heavy hitting. Now, heavy hitting is the message. What is heavy hitting? The message. So let's take this from the top. This is your. Makes you. This is your. And it. This is humor. Makes you. This is heavy hitting, and that's the message. Tell your neighbors you got the secret. Finally, have a call to action. Have a call to action or the next step or something I call the KFD. What do you want your audience members to know, feel, or do? Always have a next step. If you're preparing any type of presentation, I want you to focus on that first. What is your KFD? What do you want people to know, feel, or do? So in closing, I just want you to remember this. Stories are sticky. There are 3 elements to an opening. They are break preoccupation, frame the message, jump into the content. If you're going to use stories, make sure that you touch people's heads. You make them think, their hearts, you connect or relate with them. If you try to make them laugh, but it's not required. Not all presentations lend themselves to humor. That was the optional component. And finally, heavy hitting. What is the message you want them to walk away with? And if you do that, I guarantee your business presentations will be memorable. Thank you very much.